Today we're doing a camera comparison between two Sony phones, two 2019 Sony phones, the Xperia 10 Plus versus the Xperia L3. Now I know what you're thinking, the Xperia 10 Plus is going to be better than the L3, definitely, and really this isn't about seeing which one is better, it's more about seeing what you get for the money. What's the difference between the L3 and the 10 Plus? Is it worth spending a bit more and getting the mid-range as opposed to the entry level? Well, we're about to find out, and guys, if you like Sony reviews, tech reviews in general, then consider subscribing for more content like this in the future. Turn on that notification so you know when my next video goes live. This is part 2 in the Sony Xperia 10 Plus series, so stay tuned for the next video. But anyway, should we begin? Let's begin. So here's the first photo taken in the woods of the dog, and here you can see on the left hand side the Xperia 10 Plus and on the right hand side the Xperia L3. Let's look at the L3 photo first. So you can see that there's really great depth of color there. Really great oranges, definitely a darker photo than the 10 Plus. If you look at the foreground, there's really great detail there. But one thing you'll notice is a distinct amount of blur around the dog's face, and that's because the dog's head was moving when I took the photo, and that's probably going to be down to the shutter speed on the L3 camera. Also in the background, you can see the way the light is shining through the trees. The highlights are slightly overexposed, but I actually think that adds a bit of drama to the photo and I quite like it. Now if we look at the Xperia 10 Plus photo, you can see there definitely better clarity all around. It's a much brighter photo. The dog's face is very sharp, and that's because of the faster shutter speed. The highlights in the background aren't blowing out at all, and it's handling this photo really nicely. So as we expected, the Xperia 10 Plus is doing better in this photograph, but stick around, there's some interesting photos coming up. So here's a landscape photo taken on the L3, and you can see here really great detail in this fallen tree. And actually, in some of my previous camera shootouts, this tree actually wasn't fallen, it was actually what I used to take sort of high dynamic range photos. But anyway, now the tree is fallen, you can see here a great amount of detail, even in the shadows, the foreground, and even all the way back to the tree line. Great amount of detail. In the clouds, the highlights are blowing out just a little bit, but generally speaking, this is a pretty good photo. Now let's look at the same photo on the Xperia 10 Plus. Straight away you notice a much darker photo, way more details in the clouds in the background, and actually the way the camera sensors are adjusting to that bright background is why the foreground's so dark. It may appear that we're losing some details in the shadows on the fallen tree, but I bet you if I put this into Lightroom I could probably bring those details out. Again, we've got great details all around here from the 10 Plus, and if we look at it side by side you can see the difference in the camera technology and what it's doing. Both cameras really impressed me in this photo with really bright lighting conditions. The question is, if I did a blind test of these two photos on Twitter or Instagram, which one would you say looks better? Let me know in the comments below, or use the poll up in the top right corner. So here's a selfie shot, and to be honest, it's not my best ever selfie. On the left hand side I look like I have an amazing suntan, and on the right hand side I look like I have a terrible hangover. One of the main differences here that I noticed straight away is the amount of orange, the sort of warmth coming through the photo on the 10 Plus. You can see there on my face, much more oranges, and also if you look at the ground between the grass, you can see a distinct difference in the amount of orange there on the mud. On the right hand side, the highlights are blowing out just a bit. And the other thing you're going to notice between these two cameras is the difference in aperture. So I'm holding the phones exactly the same distance away, but the Xperia 10 Plus is just capturing a bit more. When it comes to detail, both are doing pretty good here, but definitely when it comes to color, the 10 Plus wins this hands down, as you would expect anyway. But look, the L3 is not bad at all. Now let's move on to some video stabilization tests. So in this stabilization test, I'm only going to use 720p and 1080, and that's because that's all the L3 will support. It wouldn't be fair to show you guys 60 frames per second and 4K on the 10 Plus. It does have it, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to do the two modes that the L3 has. guys, which one did better in this stabilization test? Let me know in the comments below. And now let's move on to a blurry background photo. So this one really surprised me. Both phones have portrait modes on the rear camera and the selfie camera. On the right, you can see there a great amount of color there and a really blurry background. On the left hand side, a slightly more washed out color with the portrait mode. Both cameras are really picking out the edges of that sign there. It's probably a lot easier for the cameras when it's sharp edges like this, but I have to say, I'm really impressed with the L3 here. Both do a great job of blurry background, but the colors in this one, I think I have to go for the L3. So here's a photo of a flower, and what would a camera test be without a photo of a flower? That's why I put it in here, and this will serve nicely as a color test and also a detail test. So you can see here on the left hand side, very deep yellows, and on the right hand side a good amount of yellow, but not quite as deep as what you see on the 10 Plus, but it's not bad either. Now if we zoom in on the same picture to the stalk in the middle of the flower, you can actually see how much detail both cameras are picking up. And again, the L3 really surprised me here because you can actually see the pollen really clearly at the center of the flower, and you can see good detail on the left hand side as well. But this is a really close match here. Definitely the color is going to go to the 10 Plus, but when it comes to detail, they're really close. Which one do you think's better here? All right, so that's it from the park, and this is doubling up as a front-facing camera test, video camera test. What's the audio like on this one, the L3? Going to switch over now to the 10 Plus. How much different is the quality on the front-facing video camera, and how different is the audio quality as well? Next stop, going to be doing some low light footage for you guys up in London, Charing Cross. And one of the things I really like about doing these videos is until I put it on the computer after filming and taking photos, I never really know which one is winning, how close they are. So that's why I like you guys to get involved and let me know what you think about the two cameras. Is it worth spending that extra money for the 10 Plus when it comes to cameras? So here's the first night shot taken in Chinatown, central London. And both photos look pretty good. And what you can see here in this photo is a difference in color again. On the left hand side, you're seeing slightly more vibrant colors and deeper blacks in the sky. On the right hand side, you're getting this sort of bluish greenish tint over the whole photo, but it's actually handling the low light condition pretty well. This is a tough one to call, but I'm going to have to lean towards the 10 Plus in this photo just based off of the black levels there and the more vibrant colors that it has. But some of you guys might like the L3. If you do, let me know in the comments below. And let's have a look at photo 2. So this photo is of a theatre where they're showing a Harry Potter Cursed Child theatre show. And a funny story for you guys, I was actually in one of the Harry Potter films as a snatcher. But anyway, let's look at this photo now. On the left hand side, much deeper oranges in the brickwork there. Both are handling the backlight coming through the sign really well. Very sharp edges around the letters. That strange basket thing above the sign itself, you can see a lot of detail in both photos. Arguably more detail on the 10 Plus. We're losing some of that detail in the shadows on the right hand side. And again, as expected, the 10 Plus is doing better here, but I'm actually really impressed with the low light performance on the L3. It's not a bad photo at all. It's only when you see them side by side like this that you would think, okay, that photo is not as good as that one. But if you saw that on its own, you'd probably be really impressed with the amount of detail that is showing. So here's the last photo of a classic phone box, which is soon to be extinct, I think, but it's so iconic. They seem to keep these around in central London, but I don't think anybody ever uses them. But anyway, again on the left hand side, better black level, better colors. On the right hand side, slightly washed out colors, still good amount of detail, and that's the difference between the two phone technologies. You pay a bit more, you get better quality. On the right hand side, even if you want to save some money, you're still going to get a decent photo, and you could probably enhance that photo in Lightroom and get the same amount of red level, but the in-camera processing is completely different. The camera sensors are also completely different. So that rounds off this camera shootout. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, you could check out this other one in the top right corner, which I made in Dubai, or this other one in the bottom right corner where I was at the London Comic Con. A lot of people enjoyed that one. And in the bottom left corner is a video that YouTube think you should watch. Anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Oh, and if you just subscribed, that means you're now one of the finest subscribers known to man, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So don't be late.